Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to do a couple things. We're going to do a little bit, talk a little bit about some of these big issues and the discussions, and help you formulate some ideas for the discussion topics this week related to these big ideas. So I'll introduce that first. We'll probably spend maybe 10, 15 minutes on that. And then we're going to, we have a robot presentation from our baseball team members. How was the game? Tuesday? Remember back to Tuesday? Okay. Where were you at? Here. Oh, it was here. Okay. So where do you play here? I never into it. You do play at Wade. Okay. Oh, that's kind of nice. So because I didn't know if I couldn't think of any other really good place to play it down. Right. So okay, so we'll do a robot presentation and then we'll get into creativity here and have you start generating samples of creative work here. So there's a sheet here where we're all going to post our creative samples that we're going to try out. So you have to generate at least two creative samples to post there. I believe that's the requirement. So, okay, so let's start with the discussion topics this week. So again, one of the things we're kind of doing is just looking at some of these big questions related to AI here. Intelligence, what is intelligence? How do we measure intelligence? And what, and are machines intelligent? We call this artificial intelligence often. What does that mean for that? It used to be called strong versus weak AI, maybe 10 years ago. In fact, I've been watching some videos from 15 years ago to kind of see some definitions there for this. Now we tend to use the term artificial general intelligence as what we're working with. And a lot of the companies, so it's interesting what we would have, like 10 years ago, what we would have called often artificial general intelligence or strong AI is basically what we have right now. And I'll play a video in a sec that'll talk a little bit about it, but something that can pass the Turing test or something that can answer questions. I mean, I just thought 10 years ago there would be, no way you could create an AI that could answer any question you asked of it, that you could figure out something to ask it that it wouldn't know about there. So, and phrase it in a manner that it just wouldn't know, because we are programming lots of things into AI, but we just could not program everything. And it wasn't, we certainly weren't learning like we do today. Nowadays, they're talking about artificial super intelligence. Will we have AI smarter than us? That's one thing I'm interested to see, like these robots. I've seen in the last 2 years, they've gotten a lot better. And they're still not that scary right now because they're still very slow and kind of awkward. But I would guess in 2 years, there'll be robots that will be faster and more accurate than we are at doing things, like running or moving or catching things. That's what you often see in movies, the robot, you could throw a knife at a robot and it could catch it out of air or something that human might not be able to do or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 3 years, we don't have robots that they're more dexterous or more, can move faster. And I think then people will, it'll start bringing up these fears that I often think of like movies like iRobot and stuff like that. So, okay. empathy, emotion, what is that? So again, in these topics we talked about, your job is to go in the discussion if you haven't and talk about one of these topics. So in the discussion threads, I posted some threads in here on each of these topics. And I would like you to pick two of these topics and post your thoughts on it. So you can choose intelligence or like empathy, emotion here. What is, I have some leading questions here, and then I want you to post some answers to those questions here. It's interesting. We're seeing a lot more about just like AI having a fairly good amount of emotional intelligence and being there. I routinely now see people online talking about them using AI almost as a friend or a therapist and talking to AI there. So certainly they are emulating empathy. And I always, yeah, we don't like with emotion. There's this whole question like, is emotion in your brain or is it somewhere else? Where do you feel? That sort of stuff. So we want you to talk about that. So again, the discussion threads, there's emotion, there's intelligence, some of these big questions, mind, soul, part of that, or conscious sentience. Part of this is personhood. I'm going to play a video from, okay, so let's see. This is a crash course from 8 years ago. So this isn't even that old. Well, in my mind, it's not that old. Well, it's from 8 years ago. And I'm just going to play this. This is, so PBS sponsored these little crash courses and different things. And this is one. So let me see, get my sound playing here.
Tell whether my brother John Green is a human or just a really intelligent machine.
So this is funny because they have a whole crash course on AI and stuff like this, but this is actually their crash course on philosophy, part of that. And so that's why John Green, you may be familiar with John Green, he does a lot of the computer crash courses, and this is his brother. I don't know. Okay.
Talk about what it means to be a person. But the subject that we need to explore a little better is whether a non-living being, like a robot, could be a person too. This isn't just a concern for science fiction writers. This issue matters because technology is getting better all the time, and we need to figure out how we're going to treat potential new persons if we end up creating beings that we decide meet the threshold of person. I'm talking about robots, androids, replicants, Cylons, whatever you call them. If you read and watch the right stuff, you know who I'm talking about. I might be thinking, don't we have artificial intelligence already, like on my phone? Well, yeah, but the kind of AI that we use to send our texts and proofread our emails and plot our commutes to work is pretty weak in the technical sense. A machine or system that mimics some aspect of human intelligence is known as weak AI. Here is a good example, but similar technology has been around a lot longer than that. Autocorrect, spell check, even old school calculators are capable of mimicking portions of human intelligence. Weak AI is characterized by a relatively narrow range of thought limits.
So like much of the machine learning we did at the beginning, like classify, the support vector machines, even like convolutional neural networks to identify this is the cat, this is the dog, all that is what we call weak AI, very specific to train to do one task. So, you train a model to recognize cancer from X-rays. That model is not going to help you predict who's going to win the next baseball game. Or stack boxes in the warehouse.
Strong AI, on the other hand, is a machine or system that actually thinks like us. Whatever it is that our brains do, strong AI is an inorganic system that does the same thing. While weak AI has been around for a long time and keeps getting stronger, we have yet to design a system with strong AI. But what would it mean for something to have strong AI? Would we even know when it happened? Way back in 1950, British mathematician Alan Turing was thinking about this very question, and he devised a test called the Turing test that he thought would be able to demonstrate when a machine had developed the ability to think like us. Turing's description of the test was a product of its time, a time in which there were really no computers to speak of. But if Turing were describing it today, it would probably go something like this. You're having a conversation via text with two individuals. One is a human and the other is a computer or AI of some kind, and you aren't told which is which. You may ask both of your interlocutors anything you would like, and they are free to answer however they would like. They can even lie. Do you think you'd be able to tell which one was the human? How would you tell? What sort of questions would you ask? And what kind of answers would you expect back? A machine with complex enough programming ought to be able to fool you into believing you're conversing with another human. And Turing said, if a machine can fool a human into thinking it's a human, then it has strong AI. So in his view, all it means for something to think like us is for it to be able to convince us that it's thinking like us. If we can't tell the difference, there really is no difference. Is there strictly?
So this was 8 years ago. And again, we did not have any conversational AI. We certainly didn't have to have AI that could pass the Turing test there. So it certainly today is a much different world than this. So because like 8 years ago, you could ask AI dozens of questions and it would not be able to answer. You always come up with, a question to ask AI that it wouldn't know or couldn't have answered very.
Is behavior really the standard we use to judge each other? I mean, really, it could be a robot. So could these guys who are helping me shoot this episode. The reason I don't think I'm working with a bunch of androids is that they act the way that I have come to expect people to act, at least most of the time. And when we see someone displaying behaviors that seem a lot like ours, displaying things like intentionality and understanding, we assume that they have intentionality and understanding. Now, fast forward a few decades and meet contemporary American philosopher William Lycan. He agrees with Turing on many points and has the benefit of living in a time when artificial intelligence has advanced like crazy. But Lycan recognizes that a lot of people still think that you can make a person like a robot, but you could never actually make a robot that's a person. And for those people, Lycan would offer up this kind of consideration. Harry is a humanoid robot with lifelike skin. He can play golf and the viola. He gets nervous. He makes love. He has a weakness for expensive gin. Harry, like John Green, gives every impression of being a person. He has intentions and emotions. You consider him to be your friend. So if Harry gets a cut and then motor oil rather than blood spills out, you would certainly be surprised. But Lycan says, this revelation shouldn't cause you to downgrade Harry's cognitive state from person to person-like. If you would argue that Harry's not a person, then what's he missing? One possible answer is that he's not a person because he was programmed. Lycan's response to that is, well, weren't we all? Each of us came loaded with a genetic code that predisposed us to all sorts of different things. You might have a short fuse like your mom, or a dry sense of humor like your grandfather. And in addition to the coding you had at birth, you were programmed in all sorts of other ways by your parents and teachers. You were programmed to use a toilet, silverware, to speak English rather than Portuguese, unless, of course, you speak Portuguese. But if you do, you were still programmed. And what do you think I'm doing to you right now? I'm programming you. Sure, you have the ability to go beyond your programming, but so does Harry. That's Lycan's point. Now, another distinction you might make between persons like us and Harry is that we have souls and Harry doesn't. Now, you've probably seen enough crash course philosophy by now to know how problematic this argument is, but let's suppose there is a God, and let's suppose that he gave each of us a soul. We, of course, have no idea what the process of ensoulment might look like, but suffice it to say, if God can zap a soul into a fertilized egg or a newborn baby, there's no real reason to suppose he couldn't zap one into Harry as well. Harry can't reproduce, but neither can plenty of humans, and we don't call them non-persons. He doesn't have blood, but really, do you think that that's the thing that makes you you? Lycan says Harry's a person. His origin and his material constitution are different than yours and mine, but who cares? After all, there have been times and places in which having a different color of skin or different sex organs has caused someone to be labeled a non-person. But we know that that kind of thinking doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Back in 1950, Turing knew no machine could pass it. But he thought it would happen by the year 2000. It turns out, though, that because we can think outside of our programming in ways that computer programs can't, it's been really hard to design a program that can pass the Turing test. But what will happen with something can? Many argue that even if a machine does pass the Turing test, that doesn't tell us that it actually has a strong AI. These objectors argue that there's more to thinking like us than simply being able to fool us. Let's head over to the thought bubble for some flash philosophy. Contemporary American philosopher John Searle constructed a famous thought experiment called the Chinese room, designed to show that tapping for a human isn't sufficient to qualify for strong AI. Imagine you're a person who speaks no Chinese. You're locked in a room with boxes filled with Chinese characters and a code book in English with instructions about what characters to use in response to what input. Native Chinese speakers have written messages in Chinese in the room. Use the code book, you figure out how to respond to the characters you receive, and you pass out the appropriate characters in return. You have no idea what any of it means, but you successfully follow the code. You do this so well, in fact, that the native Chinese speakers believe you know Chinese. You passed the Chinese-speaking Turing test, but do you know Chinese? Of course not. You just know how to manipulate symbols with no understanding of what they mean in a way that fools people into thinking you know something you don't. Likewise, according to Searle, the fact that a machine can fool someone into thinking it's a person doesn't mean it has strong AI. Searle argues that strong AI would require the machine to have actual understanding, which he thinks is impossible for a computer to ever achieve. Thank God. One more point before we get out of here. Some people have responded to the Chinese room thought experiment by saying, sure, you don't know Chinese. But no particular region of your brain knows English either. The whole system that is your brain knows English. Likewise, the whole system that is the Chinese room, you, the code book, the symbols, together know Chinese, even though the particular piece of the system that is you does not. So I've been thinking about it. I'm still not convinced that John is the robot. In fact, Harry really drove home the point for me that we don't actually know what's going on inside any of us. But it turned out that the John I've known my entire life, has motor oil instead of blood inside of him. Well, he'd still be my brother. Today we learned about artificial intelligence, including weak AI and strong AI.
Okay, so that was that was 8 years ago, and I find it interesting to just kind of note, think where you were 8 years ago. I was here in the same chair, probably teaching the same class. So my life, but you were probably somewhere different. So what has changed in 8 years there? And again, he's talking about Turing tests and how, back then we certainly didn't have machines that could talk to us. We could always fool them in some ways. So, and I'm not saying you couldn't fool a large language model or, get it, but I think it's much easier to create a AI that can pass the Turing test now than it has been in the past.
For that discussion, I thought we were supposed to do like the.
Yeah.
Can you delete mine?
Sure. I can delete yours. Yeah, I'll delete yours once we get going here. Yeah, I'll drop that. Yeah. So yeah, because I saw you already posted some on the other ones. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I can delete yours. I should have that power. So okay. So yeah, go in one of these and delete. Do your 2 posts in different in topics here. Let me know what you think, and see what other people think there. Okay. Why don't we jump in and do a robot presentation? Okay.
All right.
No, we threw in a little quirk. We had everyone do it in a rap. You have to do it in a song.
Oh yeah.
Well, but we still require you to do this in a rap. Didn't we all do that? Yeah, you want rap.
Yeah. Imagine.
That'd be terrible.
That'd be tough.
That'd
be tough.
Okay. Maybe we didn't do that. I just wanted to peek your creativity. Okay, tell us.
All right. This is Neo Gamma robot. I think it looks like Baymax a little bit, but yeah, it's made by B and Mason Booth. So the company, they're called 1X Technologies, and it's a robotics and artificial intelligence company specializing in the development of general purpose humanoid robots. They were originally founded, though, in 2014 by a Norwegian roboticist named Bernt. I can't pronounce those other names. I'm not super good with Norwegian. But their original company was called Halati Robotics, and they initially focused on creating safe actuators and full body control systems for industrial and healthcare applications. And then in 2022, that's when they rebranded into the 1X Technologies. and they shifted their focus towards domestic robotics, aiming to develop humanoid assistants for use in private homes instead of like the businesses like they were in the Halati robotics. And then, so I put that the company was originally from Moss, Norway, because that's where they were from when they were the Halati. But now their headquarters are in Sunnyvale, California, but they still have like additional operations in Norway. So, yeah. And then general characteristics. So this robot performs household chores. So it's like cleaning tables, serving food, serving drinks. They can open doors. I saw something where they like recently trained it to open doors for elderly people. So yeah, it's mostly used for houses, but I still feel like these could be used in like restaurants, for example. Like I feel like it could be a good like waiter. Could take waiter jobs. And I know that like so I'm a finance major, so I know like restaurants have a really low profit margin, like 3 to 6%. So I feel like these could definitely eat up costs. I feel like robots will take those jobs in the future. Um, and some specifics, it's like
To see, what they take, but I could certainly see them taking, but like, what I think more like like the dishwashing,
Yeah.
the cleanup. I still think
Yeah.
restaurants are gonna want a
A human,
face,
yeah.
because that's who you tip.
Yeah,
They're gonna wanna keep the tip money coming in, I think. So,
Yeah.
so-
no, yeah. I mean,
but
it's
I-
people do have like conversations though with your waiters. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like that's like fast food though. I feel like it could be
Yeah.
used, but like this for like the waiter, like fast food, we don't really have those anymore with the kiosks now, like post COVID.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, um,
My wife likes kiosks much better than the counter.
yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah. Some people don't like talking to them face to face, but yeah. So, this is 5'5", about. Also about 66 pounds is what I saw. That seems really light for this type of robot, but yeah, it's also kind of bulky. Its walking speed is 2.5 miles per hour, running speed 7.5. I doubt it's going to be running around in your house. They've said that safety is a big priority for them. It's probably running. It might run over a kid. That would not be good. Um, It's not on the market yet, still in development, but experts have estimated it'll be around like 20,000 to 30,000. I don't know if that's, I guess they said it's like the same price as other like elite robots, high-end robots. So yeah, it's battery life 2 to 4 hours. I think that's a little short just because, I mean, so you're gonna be sleeping for 8 hours, you're at work for 8 hours, you're at home for eight. I feel like you'd want it to be alive for that full 8 hours you're at home, just like do the laundry, do this, do that, instead of it being alive for that long. And then it uses 1X's LLM. And this LLM allows the robot to talk like a human and also move like a human. So it allows it when it walks, it like sways its arms. And then I also forgot to mention in the last slide, the company has two collaborations. They have one with OpenAI and one with NVIDIA. So like OpenAI helps them enhance their LLM capabilities. And then with NVIDIA, they're actually helping them train it to do these general purpose tasks. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And then also this has emotive earrings, which you can kind of see. Oh, there's no cursor, but it's on the picture a little bit. It has emotive earrings and it like shows certain colors and certain patterns to like it's real-time visual feedback. It helps probably the conversations be more engaging. Might show the status, like battery life maybe, or its emotion I've heard. But these things are like cosmetic. I feel like the LM, the motive earrings, and then like obviously the shape, I think it's probably to make it look more like a human, so you're more comfortable with it, like in your house. But I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
When talking about the uniqueness of this robot, I found a couple of things that I think separate it from others. The family-friendly design. The manufacturers talk about the robot purposely being designed to look family-friendly. Like Ethan talked about, this is primarily being sold in houses right now. And if it's big or menacing looking, obviously families and especially children won't be comfortable with it. Yeah, people want to be less intimidated and less fearful. One of the more unique features is that the robot has a 360-degree full range of motion microphone. What this means is that users are able to interact and have conversations with the robot from any direction. So typically what you'll see is you have to be standing right in front of it, talk to it, be looking at it. This robot allows you to be standing behind it, say something, and it can either respond to you or then turn around, know the direction you're talking to it from, and then respond. And then one of its most unique helpful abilities is it's purposely designed to have arms and limbs that lift awkward and heavy objects. I couldn't find the exact estimate, but it was saying that it was able to lift heavy objects such as dressers, cabinets. This can obviously be helpful for moving out of places or assisting the elderly. The positives of this robot, again, talking about that design, it's meant to be family friendly. It's built to act and look like a human. It's going to allow people that are using it to be more comfortable within their homes. It's got very advanced LLM or AI, like Ethan was talking about with the LLMs it was using. It's supposed to talk and act like a human in its earliest stages. And then I think it could be utilized pretty widely, whether it be in houses, in restaurants. My biggest utilization would be in elderly homes, whether it be with assistance of moving things, opening doors, serving food. I think that putting this robot into a place where people aren't necessarily able to fully function on their own would allow it to do a lot of good. Lastly, the negatives. It was one of the first things that Ethan said. It's a little clunky, a little awkward, like the size of it. I don't really know. Like if I'm in my living room at home and there's a 5'5" robot that's taking up a certain portion of my living room, like that's a little awkward. I'm more used to like the Roomba sized robots where it's taking up this much room and never going to really be in your way. I could picture some awkward scenarios with this where it can't fit into tight spaces in your house, or it's trying to open the door, but it's not leaving enough room in between the door and the wall. Um, then the price, like I said, I think this would be very useful for elderly homes or families, but I don't know how many families or elderly people are going to be able to drop 20 to $30,000 on a robot. So the accessibility might not necessarily be where it's needed most. I mean, millionaires are going to be able to buy this thing to hold open the door for them, but at the end of the day, that's not necessarily where AI needs to be being used. And then lastly, the battery life. When I was researching, didn't really find anything about the charging. So I don't know if the method would be like a standing station or a plug-in, but the 2 to 4 hours is a little weird because now you got to think in your day, when am I going to be needing to use this 2 to 4 hours of battery? So it's a little awkward there, but I'm sure they'll figure something out eventually. That is all we have.
Questions? You did have a thing of someone had to ask a question.
You know, if it has like a replaceable battery, like you could like have one just switch out for another 4 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, like I did extended research on it. I couldn't find anything like I don't know if it has batteries that it runs off of, if it's charged just like you charge a computer or a phone, just a port. But
Yeah.
if I were to guess, I'm assuming that it wouldn't be batteries. I don't think there's batteries that would power it that much well, but maybe there is.
I don't know, but it should be portable. I feel like they should have multiple battery packs. Just
A lot, what I've seen, a lot of the first generation doesn't have swappable batteries, but then again, usually, like the second generation or whatever, they add, they add those in so that it's more like a power tool where you're a lot of ways, just take the battery out and pop it in the battery. And I think you leave one on the charger.
Yeah.
Super, thanks.
Please.
I'm really interested to see how these go. When there was a big craze about self-driving cars, I really thought self-driving cars were going to take off, and I've been kind of disappointed they haven't. I'm on a self-driving car. But I think part of that reason is because of there's a lot of regulations on how we buy cars in the United States and how we track accidents and blame with insurance with cars and who's at fault there. I think in our homes or in businesses, there'll be less of a legal kind of regulatory requirements, and so we might be able to see these move more quickly in there. So certainly, if I was a finance major, I am looking to do investments, I would be looking at some of these companies. But again, none of these companies, these companies that are doing this specifically are publicly traded right now. I mean, the only way to get into this publicly traded stuff is, buying into like Nvidia or what some big company that is doing that. And then you're getting that and everything else that company does. Here's okay, let's talk about creativity and that sort of stuff. So what I like to do for the next, let's maybe do this for the next 20 minutes. So again, for the learning activity, there's the generative AI samples. And what we want you to do is, and do I say I want you to do 2 of these? I meant that, but I don't know if I actually said that. Okay, I'm going to have to put that in here. So, okay, we want you to do at least 2 or more samples of creative work here using generative AI. So again, we can use languages, we can have it write a story or a poem. Almost any of the LLMs out there will do that. Image generation, I link in some here. And you can try that. And video generation, certainly video generation is newer there, so you can try that out. And music generation, I'll just note some of these things, well, what we generally see for, I mean, again, we're using free version, so there's 2 ways this is free to you. One is it's a large company with a free version as part of their whole suite. And then eventually they will, if you're a company or something like that, you'll pay if you're doing this a lot. So like Adobe Firefly is, Adobe, and you can use the Firefly free, and then they want to get you used to doing that so that when you're, then you'll start paying for like Adobe Photoshop and monthly, that sort of stuff. Similarly, like Sora is, whereas for video, Sora is OpenAI's version. And again, they're giving that to you free for now. And then eventually they'll probably put that in their paid version. The other one is startup companies like Meshi or Suno. This is a standard practice for tech startup companies is to, you're given capital, you're given $100 million to get your company up and running. You give your product away for free while you're developing it. You give it away for free. It could be for 6 months, it could be for 2 years. And at some point then you get enough people using your free product that you start charging for it in some way or form. There maybe it's a free subscription and a paid subscription, or you limit it. So a lot of these are companies there. And again, when these companies run out of their $100 million, And I guess it's surprisingly easy to burn through $100 million when you're a startup company. Then, after 18 months of that, they might go out of business. So let me know if some of these aren't working. I've tried to test these out recently, but I may have missed some here. So try these and do this. Last year, Suno was my favorite one because it was songs, and I hadn't seen things like this. So here is board and machine learning.
In a time machine, and learn a password and numbers don't lie. But let me tell you, friends, driving ain't a dead sky. It's extra strong, like a lullaby on repeat. Try to stay away, but it's a battle I can't defeat. I'm counting sheep, y'all, and like a lazy Sunday morning. Tom Clancy like watching paint dry, but I've been warned. That's the secret I keep.
Okay, so this is if you haven't used Sono, you really need to use it at some point. I didn't save the prompt that I used last year, so I obviously gave it enough information so it knows my name and it knows the class, and I told it to write something about how boring my class was. So I think that's basically all I gave it. And then so you will do it different. I gave it, and then again, we can't just have country. So maybe I did both country. We'll see. Yeah, I think I said it had to be country. I apparently so. Okay, so if you haven't done that, I strongly recommend doing a song for one of yours. But videos are fine. There's other options here. Those of you like are into 3D models, like Meshy and stuff, can generate fun 3D models here. So try video generation, try whatever you want. So again, post those, and again, just find an area here that is empty and paste, put your name there and kind of reserve it, and then tell us what prompt you use, what website you use, and your links, sample links or whatever. Like the songs will give you a link to them. So see what you can come up with there. So we'll do this for 15 more minutes, and then we'll kind of go through and look at some of the results and hopefully be entertained by some of the results. So do something fun because I want to see some fun things in 15 minutes. Okay. So online people, you can do the same thing. 15 minutes. We're going to go through these and see. So let's just share. I want to just kind of hear what people did that they thought was interesting here. So as far as what you have to submit, if you go to Learning Act, well, so as long as you post your examples here, I can see those. I can go into the version history here and see all the edits and who made the edits of this version here. So I can see that. It is easier for me to grade if you submit something. So if you can go into learning activity and just submit saying just state that you updated the Google Doc, that would be helpful for me, not required. Here. So let's see how we did. So so tell me something fun that you created. we'll just go around, ask everyone, okay? So you don't have to, Johnny, what was the highlight? Give me a highlight.
Well, I was playing with the video generation.
Uh-huh,
I think I was video into the Google Doc, so,
yeah,
no,
right,
like the video of this cartoon dog mailed it.
right.
on a-
What did you generate that with?
That was with the AI.
Okay, yeah. And with like Google AI Studio, there's an option to export it to Drive, but then it won't play. You have to download it in Drive too. So I mean, one option would be to put it into Drive. There, yeah. You can, okay, you can try that. So, okay, so you have a nice dog pedaling.
Yeah, and then
Animate.
also did this image.
I don't care. I just want one thing. You're only allowed to share one thing, one highlight. That's all you get. Then you're done. Okay, one.
I played around with the song one.
Okay,
I listened to what all the different genres sounded.
Right. right. Can you play us one?
Oh.
No, okay, that's fine. Okay. So what was your favorite genre? How were they?
I really like the country one.
Yeah.
It's so generic. But it's not
Right.
really like country song.
Right.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, country, yeah, is pretty good. So, okay. Ethan? Songs? Okay. Give me an idea what kind of prompt are you trying there?
It's a sort of an inside joke, but it's with a baseball.
Okay. Right. And that's kind of fun is you can make, very specific songs, which is kind of fun there. So okay. Fabian, what did you do? It is dangerous once you get started. Once that goes around. I showed to some faculty last year, and so we were emailing these really interesting songs around to each other for about a week after I did it in a faculty session on different things you could do with AI. And that was the only thing anyone remembered from the whole session was that. So yeah, what kind of songs did you do it in English or did you do it? Yeah, how does it? Yeah, that's what I was interested. Does it work? Okay. Right. Okay. That's good to know. That's what I was interested to know is if it works in other languages.
Like, how do you do it in, you said you're doing country, right? How do you change it? How do you specify what type of
Genre?
genre? Oh. I think I just like told it. Oh, you told it to do a certain. Oh.
I thought there was a way to select it once you get. So I think, there's simple, and if you switch to custom, right, then you can type in the style and other options, I think there. So I think there are more options. I don't know. So, okay. Yeah. I think I did. I see that in here. Yeah. I'm interested to see, the one thing that we run into sometimes is, some people and characters are copyrighted. And so far, the video thing, it used to be, and I don't know, I haven't tried this. It used to be with image generators, you couldn't generate pictures of actual people. So like I couldn't ask for a picture of Gordon Ramsay doing something. The image generators would say that of a famous person doing something necessarily. Okay, huh, right. But I don't know, what so because I asked it to do the Muppets racing animals in Mario Kart, Mario Kart like theme. And This one's obviously Kermit, Kermit here, uh, for that. And that was Google. I had trouble with Sora. Maybe I wasn't doing it right because, it certainly, I mean, it gave me a starting image. I selected that, and then it really didn't animate that image very well. So I don't know what I did wrong with that. But again, these were obviously the Muppet characters there that are copyrighted. So I found that interesting there. So, Manuel, what'd you do fun?
Yeah, so I said, create an upload these graphs on a kind of video. And recently I've been on the device one again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and also I tried to generate a video of the man playing piano on the rooftop at sunset, but didn't come up.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully.
So, let's see. So did you post a link to your song here? Did you? You haven't? Okay. Well, we'll have to see. Yeah, that'd be fun to see. So, Alex, Stefan, do you have anything you want to share? I'm trying to see if you have posted anything here yet. So, okay. Here's generate the most generic country song possible. Okay, we'll have to try one of these. So,
Pickup truck, rust around the spring. Sunset low, paint skies gold. Out here life's simple, that's the story told. Land, beside the sea, barns still stand full of pillow beach.
okay, that is a pretty generic song. So, I don't think it's quite as good as Tom's Warring Machine Learning class country song, but it's an attempt there. So, okay. So again, feel free to share this. Remember the final project. If you did turn in the final project outline, and I think I hid this actually at one of the places here, but it was supposed to be due Monday. You should be working. I should have turned in the final project outline. I suggest you do that if you haven't already. I will then give you feedback. So if you look at your grades, I've gone through those and given you particular feedback on your final project, often saying you might want to watch this or do this or tweak this. So I try to read the feedback in your grades, in my grades on the write-up as you work on the final project here. Remember, let's jump to the final project here. So we've done the final project outline, kind of basically what you're going to do. Now you should be doing the actual research, do simulation, run your experiment, use an LLM or use a notebook or something like that. Do your kind of experiment, test out your hypothesis. There, you do not have to prove your hypothesis is correct. If you prove it's, it's doesn't not supported, that's fine for a final paper too. And then we're going to do presentations. I have added better links and more options for the presentations here. I've also added a little more detail on the use of AI in writing and what I expect for that. So I have this little Tom's Guide to AI use that I just started here. And so here's my assumption that I'm working with. So we are doing something called writing to learn. So that is this idea that you're writing to learn more about a topic. So we're not learning to write. I'm not teaching how to write. We're doing the other way. We're writing to learn about some topic. And so you're investigating some topic to learn that. So part of that is that you should be thinking and working with these ideas and this topic there. So again, AI, I think, is really good at preliminary investigations, getting ideas. even this research stuff, helping you find sources, helping you understand it. It is useful, I think, for you to read the sources yourself, and then as you're reading it, feed sections of it to AI and ask it maybe to explain a section or some detail that you're not understanding or some term. So I think it's a very helpful research assistant. But again, try not to just have it do all the research for you. It's important that you're able to read some of this material for this. The first draft, I really suggest you write it without AI. You don't have to worry about grammar, citations, paragraph flow. You just want to get your thoughts down. Make sure you get your tone and your style in place here. So this sort of critical thinking is central to this writing to learn idea here. And then for your final draft, I think that's a really good place to use AI, is moving from your first draft to your final draft. I use that a lot. Now, again, try to avoid just having, so you can just feed this assignment to AI and it would do the whole thing. It'll do the research. I mean, I've been using, I don't know if you've used any of the new AI models, and I don't know if these are available to you, but these new like 03 or 04 mini, some of these new ones and Google advanced ones are really good at doing this sort of research and stuff like that. They could easily write a complete, do this whole paper yourself. But then you don't learn anything from that process here. So some things you can do is, once it's written, have it check your structure. What is the main argument or thesis of the paper, and is it clearly stated in the introduction? Is it clearly restated in the conclusion? Does every paragraph contribute or support the developing of the argument? Point out sentences or sections that could be clarified, expanded, or restructured, and explain why they might need revision without changing the text yourself there. So again, I want to rewrite it, but I want AI to be my proofreader in this process. Same with organizational flow, and I'm horrible at grammar here. I used to have my wife proofread everything the main thing she would say, can't you at least put in commas where they're supposed to be? And apparently I do not know the rules of commas. I think I know the rules of commas. I put in commas lots of places, but apparently they're not the right places. So I still, whenever I write there. So again, grammar, sentence structure, are there places where my sentences are too long, repetitive, or difficult to understand? Can I simplify or rephrase anything to improve or clarify clarity or tone? Please help me identify grammar errors, punctuation issues, awkward phrasing, that sort of stuff. And so again, I try not to have it just generate replacement paragraphs for you. Because, again, when I read these, I can often tell, the tone is just wrong often, and I can see it's just not in your voice. I don't get, and so I don't think you're learning through this process here. So try to remember the focus of this stuff is to have you learn. You're paying a lot of money to learn this stuff here. So the other thing is, again, the final presentations. Let's see. So there's a sign-up sheet for when you can present here. So in class, on-campus students have to do one of these presentation times here. You can do it the last day of class, which is Thursday, May 1st, so a week from today. You can Zoom, there's 2 Zoom options, and then there's an exam time. That's Thursday, May 8th there. So just put an X here whenever you want to present, and then that day will just, whoever can come. So.
Were you sort of presenting on papers?
Yeah, so then you're just kind of doing a quick, so you don't have to come up with you don't have to make a new presentation there. What I kind of expect is maybe you have your paper, you bring up your paper and then you'll just talk a little bit about your paper and what the top concepts are. So.
If the paper isn't finished, it's more like an outline, is that still?
Yes, right. And so again, you might be presenting before the paper is due. And then again, preliminary results are fine there also. And again, maybe you did a notebook, maybe you did an LLM, you can, maybe you have some data in a spreadsheet or I don't know what, but you can, feel free to do that. So it's kind of an informal sharing of this. Now, online students can certainly Zoom, or online students can also do a video recording here. If you want to record a video and submit that. That's for online students only here. So on-campus students have the option to come to the showcase on Monday, May 6th and share, do the same thing at the showcase. That you have to do the other presentations, but you can also do it at the showcase. I'm generally so busy at the showcase, I don't necessarily see every student's work there, so I might not see it. And in fact, I've got to visit all of the 2011 students at the showcase, so that'll be my focus at the showcase. But you can gain points, extra points for that. Online students don't get an option for bonus points, but again, they do get the option to do it as a video instead of here in person. Questions on that? Okay. No, let's see. Yeah, so just the learning activity and the discussion this week here. And again, we've done a lot of that already to give you time to work on the final paper and stuff like that. Sound good? All right. I'm gonna wrap up. We'll see you next week.